taste. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, Chelsea Pope.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
Hello. It's so great to have you. With Chelsea, I just watched, she did Power Selling as her character Paula, and then Chelsea, I saw you do Hotel TV.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Hospodor, who I just had on the show a couple weeks ago.
Great. Oh, man.
And I was like, I gotta get more of this back.
Oh, sick. Well, I'm happy to hear it. You know what? We're all just one big extended universe of Care Bear cousins out here.
Yes.
You know? It's great.
Listen, we survived the Flappers trenches. We know how life goes.
Oh, man. Throwback. Ain't that the truth?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
But we more importantly survived another trench, which was watching this movie that you decided to throw my way, which I hadn't heard of. And I forever have to live with that I watched it. And it's a movie called Skins.
Yes, it is the Netflix Spanish-speaking movie, not to be confused with the sexy, I think it's a BBC show.
Yeah, British.
Yeah, this is definitely not that.
I feel like a lot of people who watched this movie were looking for the sexy British teen drama. They're
absolutely trying to like troll or catfish you on Netflix with this movie. Like 100% they're trying to catch you in your confusion. And when you're vulnerable searching Netflix, this is what they spring on you instead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that how you stumbled onto this movie? Because it's super niche. It's Spanish. It's from 2017. It's one of those like super art house European film kind of movies. Mm-hmm. It's clearly not one that a lot of people would probably watch on their own unless this is their jam. So how did you watch this?
Yes. So here's the thing. I saw it was fairly recently added to Netflix, I think. It was someone was making fun. I can't even remember what specifically, because there's so much to make fun of about this movie. But there was something that was being made fun of going around Twitter. And I think it had to do with the mouth, the mouth.
The girl with the butthole mouth.
The girl with the butthole mouth. And I think
my favorite girl with the dragon tattoo spinoff.
Exactly. It's like, I don't even remember what the joke tweet was, but I was like, is this real? And so I looked it up, and purely out of just, I think, morbid curiosity. And I do like weird movies sometimes, to a certain degree. And I do think that if this movie had leaned in a specifically different direction than what it chose, maybe it could have worked. But just out of curiosity, I put it on, and I mean, it just right away just throws like a shocking imagery at you. And for the rest of it, it was literally a car accident you couldn't look away from.
Yes. Including the car accident.
Including the car accident that you couldn't look away from. Everything about this movie, it was very much like a Waiting for Godot. I'm leaving. I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to walk away from this. But no, I just stayed. I let the whole thing unfold. And I think the movie thinks that it gave me a message. And that's what I'd been waiting for, what it thought was its message the whole time.
Is it? I guess it's a message of acceptance or something. I don't know.
It's a damn mess, because they're conflating these really extreme physical deformities with, being other, in the sense of whether it's like LGBT or people of color, or there's a lot of conflation going on with that, with people who have mental illness of some kind. Mm-hmm. And it's all just a catch-all, like with being around the idea of these insane physical deformities.
Right.
And it's super messy because if you're going to try and cover that much ground, like you need to, I don't know, you maybe focus in and pick one thing you want to attack. But they try to go kind of like Magnolia about it with like all of these intertwining little storylines that sort of connect but don't. And there's like the magical realism of it. And I mean, it's
definitely that's the exact same thought I had, which is that it's too much for the story that it's trying to tell. Like, so the premise of the movie is thank God somebody updated the Wikipedia page between yesterday and today, so I can have a quick cheat sheet for how many characters there are in this.
Yeah, it's too many.
But there are primarily, as far as the characters with deformities go, there's Laura, who doesn't have eyes. Mm-hmm. There's Samantha, who's the girl with the butthole mouth, and the mouth butt. As we learn later on.
My gosh, which is just so much to say about that too. Just,
I mean, good on her for taking the time to put lipstick on that thing every time she goes out of the house.
It's the rules between the mouth and butthole were a complete mess. There was they didn't honor their own world that they created. Like they just didn't. It was lazy. Like they didn't answer these important questions. Also, why would you try to bone someone in their butt if their butt was a mouth with teeth? Like that's logistically not like anyway.
It's going to go wrong. As soon as that happened in the alley, I was like, oh, somebody's penis is going to get bitten off by this mouth butt. It's
absurd that they didn't go for the butthole mouth instead. But also, why is it necessary that her teeth would be part of it's a mess. It's a freaking mess. That didn't make any sense. Not that I'm condoning that she had been sodomized, but like still, like that was not smart of the guys to... Anyway.
I mean, you saw their haircuts. They were not smart with those weird little front bangs and nothing else.
Yeah, that was weird. That was like a weird type of hearkening to like skinheads or something. I don't know what, but yeah.
So there's there's those two. Then there's Anna, who has a large tumor on the side of her face that basically like takes over her whole face. There's Gilly? I didn't actually hear his name pronounced. I'm just reading it.
I don't remember
He's the burn victim.
Right. Okay, yeah. He's yeah.
And he's the one, and then there's Ernesto, who is in love with Anna, and gets caught by his mom jerking off in his room to a picture of her. And then there's Christian, who is the boy who wants to get rid of his legs and become a mermaid.
Right.
And Vanessa, who is a dwarf. She has achondroplasia, I think. And she's, by the way, the best character of the whole movie is her.
Is her.
I think. Yeah, because I was the most compelled by her story. Mm-hmm. She's pregnant, and she is worried about the child also having the same form of dwarfism that she has. Mm-hmm. And she wants to quit working as this children's television character so she can be a mom.
She had the most grounded storyline to she had, there was emotional justification. Like she was logical. She was very normal. Mm-hmm. I completely... I'd like it. Like you could have. Not that I would have wanted to have seen a movie about all like most of these characters, but like you could have picked one and made a movie of that story, And like she's definitely one that could have been unpacked, and they could have easily said something much more meaningful about the exploitation of people with like a born deformity or physical difference that would have hit a lot harder than them trying to just like throw all of the ingredients into this thing at once. Like, it's
a real gnarly blender. And I think it doesn't help that the movie starts out with a guy at a brothel that's like a pedophile and deformity brothel.
Yeah, and then for whatever reason, the main lady's just naked. That's just strictly for shock value. There's no necessary reason for that. He's not patronizing her.
Naked and glistening. She's got some. They did the compelling film thing of having her be covered in some sort of oil, some sort
of glistening sheen that like I think is. I think that's part of like another issue I have with this movie is that it was just so indulgent about the visual aspects of it, about just trying to create these crazy shots or these really like candy coated, frames that it doesn't. You're throwing the story under the bus completely. Like it's like you want us to be distracted by what we're looking at. Is that supposed to be a commentary about our own distraction? Is this supposed to be thematically tied in some way? Or are you not yourself perpetuating the very things that you're trying to unpack about being distracted by appearances and and aesthetics? Like it was really contradictory in like the wrong way. Like you shouldn't that theme should have been clear. I'm fumbling on my words a little, but like, I think that is definitely an example of a scene that doesn't help with what the message is that they're trying to send. I think that's like deliberately disorienting in the wrong way.
Yeah. I think that a movie like this, and I can understand from a palatability perspective, I can understand why, like the color palette of the movie is a lot of pastels, especially a lot of like pinks and purples. All of the characters for the most part are wearing, except for a couple, like the abusive mom and the pedophile dad. They're wearing, pastel colors the whole time.
Yeah.
And the other two are wearing brown. And the restaurant owner lady, who's horrible, but also tragic.
Yeah, like we're supposed to be expected to everybody's got a story kind of thing. Like I just didn't. That was definitely one I just couldn't get on board with the whole time, and it was. I get the idea of it. They were trying to make it more palatable or more like enticing in the colors, and then jar you maybe with the more shocking imagery. It's just. I think of like Promising Young Woman as a better example of a movie that has fun with its palette and its color scheme while also trying to give you some tough medicine.
Yes. I think Promising Young Woman's a great inverse in terms of like what you can pull off when you combine the aesthetic and also clear messaging. In your dialogue and your characters.
Exactly. This is absolutely like a failed attempt at doing what Promising Young Woman I think really excels at in that regard. Not that I don't like, I mean, I enjoy aesthetically pleasing films quite a bit. This just doesn't, it felt arbitrary or just deliberately like you're taking away from the story you're trying to tell because it's so much, Yeah.
I felt when I was watching it, the thing that even from the beginning, which is there's no actual, you don't see anything in terms of like when the guy is clearly looking to have sex with a kid.
Yeah.
You don't see anything, but you are drawn in by the aesthetic, and also it's like captivating, but also like, this is going to be, I'm going to clearly be made uncomfortable during this whole movie.
Right.
And I wish that there was, I wish that pressure valve got released of the discomfort.
Yeah.
Like, you're never really, as an audience member, given a chance, I think, to not feel the discomfort that this movie is bringing to you.
Yeah, there isn't it's hard to connect with the characters because it is so alienating from the get-go. And it also just, tonally, not just with the aesthetics, but the way that these deformities and the way that these characters are portrayed, we are making jokes about this girl's butthole mouth. We're making jokes about these things. We're supposed to laugh at her when she like blows out the candle. We're supposed to like laugh at these deformities, but also shame on us for objectifying these people. Like shame on us for the way that we are literally being compelled to perceive them in this way because you're the one making the movie. You know? And that was really frustrating to watch, or to have just continually run into with this movie.
I think what kind of with the elements of this movie that I found worked for me, and to a larger point, to Promising Young Woman, is there is an empowerment that some of the characters in this movie get to have that is satisfying, but it comes at like the cost of the whole rest of the movie still being a movie where you're laughing at a girl getting her butthole mouth tongued at the very end.
Yeah, you know? It completely undercuts this.
It's a weird undercutting.
It's a weird thing. We're supposed to laugh at it, like, and God, it's not the only one. There's other moments too that are just. But that one sticks out so much because the butthole thing, we're never really given an opportunity to really, like, I guess, I don't want to say not take in the gravity of her situation, but yeah, I think, you know, it's constantly getting undercut, like with her character, her like funneling the food and the birthday candles, the wait whenever she has to talk and she's, you know, like, and it's all done in a way where we're supposed to like find that all funny, and it's harder to connect because she's also like so sad and so down on herself, and it feels mean the whole time, you know? Right.
I felt kind of the same way with the lady from the restaurant, the obese woman who is a client of Laura, the eyeless prostitute. Yeah. And when she steals the diamonds and then has to retrieve the diamonds using the shower hose. Yeah. It's like, all right, I think as a director of the movie, you're kind of like you're undercutting your ability for the audience to feel any sort of sympathy for this woman's situation because you're turning it into a wacky slapstick shit joke.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was absurd. And she nothing that she did up to that point made me want to engage with this character. I was annoyed every time we had to go back to her, you know? I didn't care or see any sort of obvious redemptive arc for her. And I mean, even with her like returning the eyes and just then she has this happy ending with the girl at the cafe, and it's just so
it feels out of place.
It feels not. It's complete. It feels unearned, like completely. And you feel. I felt sorry for the girl, you know, without the eyes, because that just seems like such a manipulative situation to be in. And she's already so vulnerable, and she's a very tragic character from the beginning because she can't see, and they're just people objectifying her, and she doesn't really. It's harder for her to connect with people, and it almost just kind of feels like this is the first opportunity of intimacy, so it's just happening for both of them. So that was also uncomfortable to watch. It's like watching someone who's dating the first person who's ever been nice to them or whatever. I guess like that kind of cringe. Like, super oh well, cringe. you stole my eyes, but then you brought them back, and I guess you know deep down it's like I know you're just insecure because you don't want me to touch you, and like let me touch you. I can like make it all better, and it was just oof.
It's very cringe. It's very cringe. Like it's a middle school level of emotional intelligence.
Oh yeah,
that is so unfortunate, and you just like who is this for? Is what like it leaves me to think, because this isn't these are not. You're not going to achieve whatever your goal was with this movie. If it was to inspire people or help people to recontextualize how they perceive others in the world or whatever, that definitely missed the mark for me. I don't think it's I can't really quite get behind the justification either that this son would want to be a mermaid because his father had a mermaid tattoo. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. Like that's just fucking crazy. He wants his legs run over so he can die in an alley and imagine himself as a mermaid, I guess, because he can't. Pretty sweet looking mermaid by the end. That's one of the only good shots of the movie, I thought.
I thought that was horrifying. That made me sick. That looked like a naked fish stick. I hated that so much. And I hated that it was supposed to be this beautiful, glamorous thing. And it left me feeling just in case you weren't feeling like extremely jarred. Like that's like a one-shot dissonant feeling shot.
I found that for all of the times when when there were clear jokes being made at the expense of these characters and I didn't want to laugh, I at least appreciated, even though I was like, oh, this is so strange. Because it's also it's not a normal mermaid what you would anticipate based on like the tattoo or your eye visions of mermaid. It's just flesh. It's just flesh color all like, the way back. He's like a walrus.
Exactly. And it made me think of Tusk, which is another movie I could have gone to town about because I hate that movie too. But there are more redemptive things that happen in that film, and I really don't like that film. But this absolutely just. Like what was he imagining a flesh tail this whole time then? Or what is this supposed to, what is this supposed to mean to us? The one he made
was purple, and sort of like
scale. Like he had like a little
shiny,
you know?
Some purple rayon or whatever that fabric is.
Yeah.
It's like my fucking tennis jacket over there, but purple. A little track jacket.
Yeah. It's got like a stuff on it, you know? It's not just, it's not like veiny flesh that like just looked like wow. I really hated that so much.
But it was surrounded, but it was clear like it was an image that I felt like it made sense given all of the other surreal scenes that we had seen with him as a character.
Totally.
Like him in the office where he's risen up and he doesn't have his legs and he's got this glow about him.
Sure.
And then his last shot being that he's a mermaid with a flesh tail as fish fall all around him. Like,
which
all right,
I guess he in death finally found the peace of being in the true perceived form that he wanted to be.
Yeah.
Because he's dead.
I mean, the Wikipedia page does say Christian is now happy in his afterlife as a mermaid. So that's official now. That's on the books.
That is canon that he was okay. I should have probably, I guess.
If you're planning on writing any fan fiction, make sure you know this happened in the afterlife as a mermaid. This is canon now. This is where we're at. You can't retcon this.
I do love that these are all like such one sentence, like that last paragraph. The waitress and Laura fall in love. Gilly gets a surgery. Samantha and Ernesto are in a romantic relationship. Vanessa has her baby. Christian is now happy in his afterlife as a mermaid. It's just so like, that's how that movie kind of felt too. Is just like, here's this thing, and it's just this round robin of bullshit, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not articulate about this. It's just an off-putting movie for the sake of being off-putting. Like
this is a movie that we have probably talked about more than anyone else ever has or will in the history of this movie's existence.
Fantastic.
And that is totally fine by me because it's a movie that like I could see what it was going for, and I could also see all of the parts where it sacrificed actual good storytelling for shock value.
Yeah. Yeah.
And trying to dress that shock value up in pastels.
Yeah, and aesthetics that are, it almost feels like this was, the guy who made this is like, please take me seriously, like one of the greats, you know? So I'm going to use all of these different tools that I learned in film school and marry them all together, and it's going to be good. Or it's just, it felt rudimentary that way.
The craziest thing to me is that, so this movie was, he made it after he got funding for his short film, which was, I guess, a hit at South by Southwest, which was called Eat My Shit, which is based on the Mouthhole Butthole Girl. And
oh, wow.
Somebody saw that and was like, I want a whole movie of that. Please,
it must
a whole
have been
movie.
Really compelling. That's the thing, is like, I think people, they remember things from, you know, you go to a film festival and you're watching all these shorts, you're watching all this stuff. You remember things that stick out to you for whatever, it's shocking or it's compelling in some way. And I could see why he would get funding. I could see that happening for him, like, because it's competently made. It's not like this movie doesn't know how to frame a shot. It is aesthetic, but
he's got an eye.
He's got an eye. It's just like, it's just mean. It's a mean eye. And
it's not as like transgressive as it thinks it is, I think.
Yeah, I don't think, and it's not, it feels like it's shock for the sake of shock without actually adding anything. I think like another movie that faced a similar kind of criticism, not in terms of shock, but like in the intent of the filmmaker versus what they were purporting was their intent. I feel like, you know, there was that, I always say her name wrong. Is it Sia or Saya? That movie Music that came out?
Sia, yeah.
And, you know, just all the controversy around a film about a kid with autism and the controversy of her refusing to like look into casting someone with autism but her purporting herself as such a strong advocate for that versus what it really was, which was essentially just sort of like an inflated Sia music video for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I feel like this is another example of a director saying, oh, it means something really deep and great. But actually this was just a guy who wanted to flex, like having a budget and making aesthetic, like shocking imagery, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Something to hit that festival circuit, get a little bit more clout under his filmmaking belt.
Yeah, this feels very like a clout seeking type of thing. And you got it. You see the laurels on it, and now it's on Netflix, you know, and we're talking about it now. So,
well, Eduardo Casanova, if you are listening, please let me know. I would love to talk to you more about what else you're going to do, and maybe I'll watch more of your non-butthole mouth related movies.
You son of a gun. You son of a gun.
So, Chelsea, what do you think people should watch instead of this? You mentioned Promising Young Woman. I feel like a lot of people have seen that. What are some other maybe movies that like try to do this in this like sending in this vein, but you know, less of the gross shock value things?
You know what? I will say, just because I just watched it, I feel like I'm in a place where I can defend Cruella, actually.
Oh, okay.
I think Cruella, for all of its memeing and a lot of really great viral Twitter jokes going around about an admittedly very silly scene about her origin, it's a movie that once you realize it's camp, because I think maybe it's not necessarily been sold as camp in the advertising, but once you sit down and you watch it, and like from the get-go, you're like, oh, this movie's ridiculous. Then you can just kind of enjoy it, and you can really enjoy that they blasted their budget on aesthetics and visuals, and you can enjoy the performances, because even though the storyline is absolutely insane, it's there's something very endearing about the casting choices they made. And Emma Stone chews it up. She has so much fun. She has a dramatic monologue that is so camp in like the most endearing way I can say that. But she knocks it out of the park when she's like declaring herself as Cruella. And I think in juxtaposition to something like Skins, this is a movie that I don't want to say it didn't try to give messaging. There's definitely some like rewriting of some girl boss ness happening, but I think I give it more credit than Skins. It's having fun with itself in a way that I think is much more accessible. I mean, it's a Disney movie too, of course. So, you know, like it's gonna, even though it's PG-13, it's still a family movie. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Cruella yet. I have, I've seen a lot about the Cruella-based discourse on the internet.
It's full camp. That's why I'm on board with it. If it had taken itself any more seriously than it did, I think it would have knocked itself off of that pillar that I placed it on. But there were some key elements, and especially that ending, like it really sticks the landing for me.
Interesting. Well, my girlfriend said she really liked it too. She said it's a fun watch, which was the first thing she said. There
you go. That's she nailed it. That's exactly what Cruella is. It doesn't need to be built up to be anything more grandiose than that. It's silly. It's fun. There's a lot of what? Like as you're watching it, but in the best way. It's not like Skins where you feel distanced. You feel distanced and kind of shamed. And I'm put in an adversarial role watching something like Skins, whereas Cruella is like, shh, just have fun. It's totally cool. Like, don't, you know, like, we're just having a good time here, okay? Just listen to the soundtrack. Enjoy these costumes. Emma Stone's killing it. Like, she really... And I loved Glenn Close, and I'm like, this is not tonally going to work. It works.
Wow.
So that's my sell.
Oh, my God.
Cruella.
I mean, I loved Glenn Close's Cruella back in the day. So if you can... It's high praise. It's high praise.
It's like... I think part of what has maybe caused people to be anti-Cruella. One, you see the comments on the ads and people are just like, we can't try to retcon a puppy killer or whatever. Well, they do, and she's not a puppy killer anymore, spoiler alert. But like, other than that, I think people are like, how can you try to make her into like a multidimensional character? Like, she is born camp. She is a campy villain. And I think this movie is not challenging that. It's just like, it's really driving the point home. Like I think in the same way, like as the Jim Carrey Grinch, it's okay. Enjoy it for the camp that it is. And like, yeah, the Jim Carrey Grinch, you know, they had like, that's the pithy, like backstory stuff. But when you rewatch it now, you're like, oh, it's so silly and fun. You can't not like, yeah. You know? I mean, maybe you don't like the Grinch. I like it. I can appreciate it. You know,
I think the Jim Carrey The Grinch is the best out of all of the Grinch related movies that have come out over the past several years, except for The Cat in the Hat versus The Grinch is quite good, but that's back in that's an old one.
Yeah. That is an old one actually. But I would say go into Cruella the way you would like watching the Jim Carrey Grinch. Like, okay, boom. That's
not the way I watched Skins, which was not with the way my hackles up from the beginning.
This movie's not fighting with you. Cruella's not going to put up a fight with you. It's not going to give you a hard time or try to make you go through any sort of mental or emotional labor. It's silly. It leans into its aesthetic. And it's a good time. And it's a speedy, it's a full 2 hours, but it moves quickly. Like the camera just never stops moving. It's always like taking in.
I mean, I loved I, Tonya, and I know it's the same director.
Oh, I love I, Tonya too. Yeah, exactly. I think part of what makes I, Tonya work, is that it's there are a lot of aesthetic qualities to it, but it's also like a very tongue-in-cheek. It succeeds in the way that once again Skins failed in terms of
Skins is tongue-in-cheek in the bad way.
In the right, like it just.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's because there's a mouth with a tongue and a butthole. At the very
logic of her character, all of her character was completely illogical. None of it. Like, why was her chin? Like, it's supposed to be reminiscent of a butt, but that's not how butts work. So why is that anyway?
Listen, sometimes people get funding off of their short film and then they make a weird choice, and maybe Eduardo Casanova will make better, more interesting choices. Because I think he's got some good filmmaking chops in him. I'm not going to say he's a bad director. I don't think he's a bad director by any means after watching this. This is just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, no, it was, again, yeah, well shot, and for it being a round robin of characters, I would have said it was fairly well paced. However, it's just what he's dealing with. You end up just not getting a really good taste of.
Yeah.
It is also, I think, like too short for him to actually be trying to pull it off. Because I think of like Magnolia as a better example, and that movie's like very long. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Well, damn.
Cool.
We survived this movie, and I will excitedly watch Cruella now. You're the second person who said that it is worth a watch, so keeping that in mind, filing it away. Chelsea, where can the listeners talk to you on the internet if they want to see you and say hi?
Yeah, they can follow me on Twitter and or Instagram at Chelsea the Pope, or sometimes I'm on TikTok at Chelsea_Pope. Yeah. That's my goodies. Those are my goodies.
Check out those goodies. You can find my goodies at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. I've never advertised my TikTok on here, but I post on there. But it's whatever. Who cares?
Yeah, it'll work the spiel more like naturally.
I guess it's one of those things. I was literally talking to this guy on. I had a guy on my show. By the way, if you want to see a live show, listeners, come to Chirp and Turf every Thursday. But I had this guy who's got like 2 million followers on TikTok on the show. And we were talking afterward, and he's like, I don't tell anybody that I'm on TikTok. People find me, but like I don't want to use that as a credit. And I'm like, you know what? I get it. I understand.
Yeah. There's still like just some people just have some like interesting hesitations about that. It's
very strange. It's one of those things.
And like you can really blow up on TikTok, but that doesn't necessarily translate to any other platform, which I also find interesting. But that's
that's a whole other podcast. That's neither here nor there. This podcast is coming in for a landing, and Chelsea, thank you again for bringing this movie to my attention.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What a way to spend a Sunday morning. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.